We'll be starting in a couple of minutes, so see you soon. If there are any journalists that want to be here for our presentation. Do we start now? Okay. Welcome, everyone, distinguished journalists and members of the press. Thank you for your presence. And let me make a statement on behalf of the three co-leads of the SIDS Coalition for Nature, Samoa, Seychelles, and Cabo Verde. Because SIDS are home to a rich and unique biodiversity, because SIDS face disproportionately threats to our biodiversity and are on the front line of multiple crises, because SIDS have been leading by example and been frontrunners in nature conservation. Several SIDS decided to form a SIDS Coalition for Nature in view of the Global Biodiversity Framework, adoption and implementation. Co-led by Cabo Verde, Samoa, and Seychelles, the objective of the coalition is to advance as one for agreed common SIDS priorities and needs, including the needs for greater means of implementation and implementing biodiversity objectives in SIDS. Indeed, within this decade of action, greater and more urgent ambition requires larger and more targeted means of implementation. The coalition was launched earlier today at COP15 at high level with statements of support from the UK, France, and also the Deputy Secretary General, the UN Secretary General's Special Envoy for Oceans, as well as the CBD Deputy Executive Secretary. We delivered a straightforward call of action with three main priorities of implementation to achieve ambitious biodiversity objectives: increasing SIDS access to concessional finance and mobilizing private investments and financing solutions for biodiversity conservation, supporting SIDS technical cooperation, technological transfer, data management, and capacities, accelerating biodiversity mainstreaming across all sectors and synergies amid conventions. A 2022 assessment report on gaps, challenges, and constraints in means of implementing biodiversity objectives in SIDS developed in consultation with CBD national focal points from all the SIDS region, is the technical rationale behind those priorities. The SIDS Coalition will also be a platform to strategically disseminate SIDS best practices in nature conservation via advocacy. It will promote the development of SIDS peer learning, cooperation, and pave the way for the uptake and expansion of innovative solutions by SIDS and for SIDS. The current members of SID Coalition for Nature are, in by alphabetical order, Belize, Cabo Verde, Comoros, Dominic, Dominican Republic, Guinea-Bissau, Kiribati, Samoa, St. Lucia, Sao Tome, Principe, Seychelles, Solomon Islands, Tuvalu, and Vanuatu. Also, the coalition already counts on the support of currently 9 friends, which are by alphabetical order: Germany, France, Italy, Luxembourg, Monaco, Netherlands, Portugal, Spain, and UK. Let me take this opportunity to say how honored we are by the presence of UK and France during our launch this morning. Friends of the coalition and other partners can support the coalition in any of the 3 following ways: by adding their voice of support to the messages formulated by the coalition, by supporting the implementation of the SIDS Call for Action, by contributing to the Lean Virtual Secretariat support for the sustained operation of the coalition. On behalf of the members and friends of the coalition, thank you very much.
If you want to take questions, we can pass the mics around.
Okay, any questions? Thank you. Oh,
Excellencies, thank you so much. I am, and I'm sure everybody here would agree with me. I'm from the Seychelles myself,
I just.
and I think this is absolutely critical. What is your feel towards the commitment of the developed world towards small island developing countries? Because I mean, we suffer more than anyone. I mean, if anyone's going to be environmental refugees in the next decade or 2 decades, it's going to be our citizens. So therefore, I'm really curious to know from your deliberations, what do you feel is the real commitment towards supporting SIDS, especially now? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I think that this is expressing our big volunteer to join, to work together, to create synergy, and let's say to act as one for advocacy of small island states. And we think that together we will more, let's say, able to implement our biodiversity strategy and action plans. And of course, we will also be able to mobilize more finance, more cooperation, and of course, so the cooperation, of course, the transfer of technology, capacity building in an environment of transparency, which is needed also for mobilizing funds, and also a very concrete actions for this cooperation. So we are small islands, but a big ocean states, and we have very big territories where we need to implement actions for conservation and developing biodiversity. We see biodiversity not only as resources, but we have the biodiversity with our own value to preserve, and this is the way we think we should develop to strengthen the biodiversity conservation.
Thank you very much. Maybe if I may add, thank you very much for this question. I think there is something which is, which I guess everybody will realize, because whenever you look in terms of seeds, you know, there's so many things, there's so many beauty about seeds. Though we are small, yes, we are very small, but when you look in terms of biodiversity, we are very diverse. And a lot of efforts, I would say, are coming from seeds, especially whenever we're talking about conservation, we're talking about innovation. A lot of those are coming from seeds. And even if you look in terms of biodiversity, I guess seeds hold, I would say most, you know, is very, very biodiverse. And I think maybe what I can say in terms of countries, and this is why I think there are bigger countries that realize the importance of seeds. And this is one reason, like with the launch of the coalition, we've got some big countries. I think already we have 8 countries which are friends of the coalition, which have already approached us. And I think they are committed to provide support to us, because they can say, like the minister has already made mention, we do have certain limitation when you look in terms of financing, in terms of capacity, in terms of technology. And I think if we can get those supports from the bigger countries, I think that will help us to really move forward. And this is something which we are really trying to do, getting the bigger countries, because at the end of the day, it's one world, and we just need to work together, you see, and that's it. Thank you.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Good. My name is Dave Oswald. I'm from a company called DE that does work in communications, but also in technology design for small and developing states, national information systems. I was at the previous event where you were explaining the coalition and the launch of this initiative. And it appears that you've done some work with respect to a gap analysis, and a report has been done. But I'm wondering if there's been strategic work conducted to determine the path forward in terms of determining how those gaps are going to be filled, and how to unlock finance from either donors or the private sector to start to enable these solutions going forward, such as technology transfer, capacity development, and also finance for biodiversity.
Thank you. As you were at the launch, it was the launch. And the intention is, as we build, then we start now to, as we have more partners, to develop how we're going to move forward collectively as a group, as the coalition. And as small and developing states, we mentioned, we are lacking in a lot of resources, but with the friends, we hope to work together to build that going forward. We each individually, as countries, we all have our own plans, but having this coalition is looking at how we collectively, as more small island states, can our voices be heard at the more, and our issues become important in a broader framework. But at this stage, I think part of the launch today was starting to put out the message, and then we start looking for partners and how we can collectively work together to move forward. I hope that answers you. No more questions? Do we finish review? Okay, if we don't have any more questions, I thank you all for your attendance today, and we look forward to you spreading the word for more friends and more countries to join our coalition, so we can all be saving nature.